Okay, well, I'm delighted to be joined by former Peterborough United striker Neale Fenn. Neale, I mean, we're just talking off sort of air, as they say, if that's a word these days, about how you came to join the football club. What can you remember? Because you've been out on loan to a few clubs and you'd had a long-term contract at Tottenham. How did it all transpire that you ended up at London Road?
Yeah, I feel good to be here. Good to connect with people. It's good to hear a different voice. So I was at Tottenham in around 1997, 98. I'd signed a 5-year contract. Things were going well. I'd been on loan. I was getting in the first team. And then with the changeover of different managers and a lot of comings and goings around that time, I ended up not actually playing a game for anybody for about 2 years. I wasn't even playing in reserves for Spurs at the time. I was completely frozen out. And should have kicked up more of a fuss about leaving, really. You know, I needed to play games, but I'm a Tottenham boy, you know, a big Spurs fan, and really didn't want to leave. So sat it out anyway. And I think at the end of the season before, I'd played I'd gone on trial to Peterborough and played a couple of, I think anyway, I know it's a long time ago now, and played a few reserve games. And managed to earn myself a contract for the 2001-2002 season, and signed. Then Barry, put an offer to me, take it or leave it, and I signed, and that was it really. So I signed on the same day or around the same time as Mark Joseph, Jimmy Bullard, Tommy Williams, Dennis Pearce. I remember there was a photo of the 5 of us standing there. So really good time, a good chance, a good break for me, and a chance to finally get out and play some first team football.
It was bizarre because I've spoken to so many different players from so many different eras, whether Barry was manager, whether he was owner, whether he was director of football, and they all say the same thing. You had negotiations, he puts them on the table. It was either you take it or leave it, or you go elsewhere, and then either the next day something materialises. Can you remember contract negotiations? I guess that if you've been at Tottenham all your life, that was a big step for you.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't so much a contract negotiation. It was like you say, this is it. He just said, I haven't got any more to offer you. And to be fair, that wasn't the priority at the time for me. It was just about getting a game somewhere, and playing first team football. Like I said, I hadn't played in a couple of years, and I was 24 when I signed for Peterborough, which, it's quite old to suddenly start getting out in the real world of playing football. So that's where I was at. And it wasn't much of a negotiation. It was, listen, this is your wages. This is it. It's a 1-year contract and fire away. So I signed it, and I'm, delighted that someone gave me the opportunity.
Yeah, before we talk about your time at Peterborough, I think you just said there 24 was quite a late age to get into the real world, as you described it. I guess when you're a Tottenham boy and you support Tottenham and you come from that neck of the woods, it is very hard to sort of press a button to move on to the next stage, isn't it? Because you kind of live in the dream that you wanted all through your teenage years.
Yeah, I was there from 11, so ever since I started playing football, really. I didn't really start playing organised football till that age. So as soon as I started playing organised football, signed for Spurs, schoolboy level, and then just worked my way through, ended up signing a YTS there, and then got a couple of professional contracts 1 year after another, and then got in the first team, which was like you say, a dream come true. So then the long contract came along, and you think you're sorted. Then you think you've got it made, and maybe that was my attitude at the time, was possibly wrong, that I thought I had it made, when that's when the hard work should have started. So anyway, yeah. So was there for too long, basically. I had it too easy. It was close to where I was living, and all my family are Spurs fans, friends are Spurs fans. So it just, like you say, it was living the dream. They had one of the best clubs in the country. Just moved into a new training ground, so definitely got too comfortable there.
In terms of the players that you joined at Peterborough, you mentioned you signed at some similar sort of time to people like Jimmy Bullard and Tom Williams, who are obviously coming out of West Ham as well. At that time, did it help you settle that there was quite a few players that probably had the same sort of journey, albeit probably not played as much first team football as you had at Spurs at the time?
Yeah, exactly. We all joined at the same. I think Tommy and Jimmy would have been the same. Would have had a little sniff with first team football, and it was their chance then to go out and play league football. So we're all in the same boat. We all got on really well, and plus we got on well with the older lot, the old guard that were already there as well. Welcomed us in. So it was a good team spirit. It was a great dressing room to be in, and a really good time really for the first few months, 6 months.
You mentioned Jimmy Bullard. Everyone I speak to, I mean, obviously I was there at the time. I know exactly what he was like. He was crazy. But within the confines of the dressing room, is he someone that sort of helps you, particularly at a new club? Or is he someone that you just think, oh my God, what is Jimmy doing now?
He just there's a lot of people like him in football, characters. He is obviously a big character, but there's a lot of those in football, and every dressing room has them, and some people like it and some people don't, but it's just it's just the way he was, and he was just a laugh a minute, really. And but the thing about him was, with all the joking aside, he was a hard worker and a hard trainer, and was demanding of people around him, and that sometimes gets overlooked a little bit with the messing and the joking, but he would stay behind training every day and do little bits extra, and when he was scoring free kicks, they weren't by accident. He was there practicing every day. So with all the joking and the messing, there was a good professional there as well.
Yeah. Could you see a career in what he's ended up doing and going on, I'm a Celebrity, and doing this, that, and the other? I watch him sometimes and I think, how has he done that? How has he managed to get to that level? It just seems bizarre to me. Yeah,
no, you don't really see it, I suppose, from just being, like I said, there's a lot of characters like him in football, and to go on and to do what he's achieved is brilliant. It's a testament to him, and but like I say, he works hard at stuff. So with his golfing, he's a very good golfer because he does it well. And I don't know nothing about fishing, but he looks like a good fisherman as well. So it's just his character. He's a likable character. People like him, and it rubs off on people, and he's infectious, and that's what makes him what he is. So yeah, I'm delighted to see where he is.
You played up front with Leon McKenzie for the majority of the time at the football club, and Leon had obviously come on loan and then signed permanently as well. Was he an ideal sort of strike partner for you, someone that wanted to sort of play on the shoulder, allow you to drop a little bit deeper and create?
Yeah, exactly. When I played up front with him, he would do all the dirty work and going around, and intimidating the defenders and smashing the defenders, and I was there to try and pick up the pieces and try and feed him. And with Andy Clark as well, it was similar. I played up front with Clarkey for a lot of the games as well, and that was similar. He was very good running in behind and very quick. Francis Green at the time as well was the same. So yeah, we had a lot of good strikers at the time, and a lot of different variations of partnerships up there. So one, it was good for me, but in two, it was difficult sometimes to get a game.
Yeah, Barry loved strikers. As you say, you don't fall there. I think it was probably about 7 or 8 on the books. He wanted to play with strikers, 2 strikers, 3 strikers, 4 strikers if he could. Was that ideal in terms of a forward player that you were told to attack? Because, I mean, from recollection, I can't imagine Barry would have spent too much time on shape and getting into position.
No, he had Wayne Turner was there at the time, and Wayne was a very good coach. He was excellent tactically, and Barry doesn't. I'm sure if you asked him, that's not what his strength is. He doesn't. He's not interested in that side of the game. I don't think he just wants to see good football. He wants to see you go out there and win and go out there and attack. And I'm sure he would have drove Wayne mad a few times with the way he wanted us to push forward. But like I say, for me, that was brilliant. We don't want to be standing there and doing shape every day. So for a forward player, it was excellent.
Obviously, that season we had a massive cup game against Newcastle. Now, obviously, there were several things I remember about that game and the lead up to the game. It was on TV first and foremost, and the pitch was appalling. I mean, I think it would have been called off if it hadn't have been on TV. I think Barry was marching around saying, "It's fine, it's fine." Put the money into the when you when in the preparations for that game, did Barry make you believe that you had an opportunity to win that game?
I think that he was just saying they won't fancy it coming down here and playing here. I think that was the message. And when I remember once that Wayne Turner didn't want us really to focus too much on them, going through their players and saying this is their strengths, this is their strengths. So we didn't really focus on them. We focused on our strengths, and we thought if we could go out there and upset them early and play at a high tempo and put them under pressure from the start, that they wouldn't. We were hoping they wouldn't really fancy it. And I think I haven't got a great recollection of the game, but I'm sure that we were well in it until I think was there a dodgy penalty given? And
yeah, I mean, it went 2-0 Newcastle, then back to 2-2. And obviously
I missed the chance.
Shearer obviously had there was Leon handled it, went to 3-2,
Yeah.
and then I think they scored very late to make it 4-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2-0 down, I guess in any cup tie, regardless of whether you're League Two as it was against Premier League, you'd probably think you're out of it. But to get back to 2-2 must have been a great feeling.
Yeah, and like you say, they went 2-0 up, and then we had nothing to lose really, piling men forward. I remember Dave Farrell scored a great goal, didn't he? And I missed a chance then to make it 3-2, I think. So, and then the penalty was very, very questionable. The worst ways we were going up to Newcastle for a replay, which would have been great for the club financially, but it wasn't to be. The penalty was questionable, and they wanted to beat us, but. Yeah, I think if I would have scored that goal at 2-2, then anything could have happened.
Yeah, obviously it ended up being 4-2. Alan Shearer obviously played that day. Were you someone that got shirts? Were you someone that was religious on that? Some players, when they play big teams or will come against people, they want to get the shirt straight away. Were you that kind of person?
No, I'm not. I don't know if it was that. Wide, not as widespread as it is now, but it didn't really. I didn't really go after anyone's shirt back in those days. I don't know whether it was the thing to do. Maybe people did. I don't know. I wasn't. I didn't get another shirt really. I thought that, after losing 4-2 and possibly me being at fault for not getting us 3-2 up, I wasn't feeling in the best of moods at the time. So no, I didn't get a shirt at all. Looking back now, I should have.
Did Barry say anything about that chance? Were you someone that analysed chances in your head afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, as a striker, you don't blame yourself, or you try not to blame yourself. You try to say it was a good save by the keeper. And I see Shay, afterwards, and he just said, it was a great save. He just stuck his hand out behind him and it hit his hand. So, but in hindsight, I should have put it in the other corner with my left foot, and we probably would have gone on and won it.
We had some great results during the time you were there. Obviously, we mentioned the 4-1 against Bristol City and QPR, scoring goals against Bournemouth, people scoring from all over the pitch, Mark Joseph scoring free kicks. I guess when you look back on that time, you probably feel with a little bit of disappointment that it didn't go on to achieve what you probably, as a team, could have achieved.
Yeah, I think by the time, around Christmas or just before Christmas, we were nearly top of the league. We were flying. But then I think that we probably had players like myself, Jimmy, Tom Williams, Mark Joseph. Well, I don't know about Mark. Mark had played a few games, but us three, we weren't really used to it. We weren't used to playing week in, week out. I know Jimmy was brilliant, playing well every week. But I know myself, I was very inconsistent, just not playing, just couldn't get 2 or 3 good games in a row. I'd do one game and then the next game wouldn't be so good. And then, so I was a little bit inconsistent. And I think that for the forward players, if we had a consistent pairing up front every week, like Leon did for, towards the end, I think then we would have had a good stab at it. But at the time we were trying to find our 2 best strikers and we were a little bit inconsistent at the time up front.
Is that hard when you have quite a lot of strikers? Because everyone thinks the dream is for a manager to have so many options. But I guess too many options sometimes can actually be a hindrance because you can't find, or you take a while to find that right pairing.
Yeah, I mean, you often hear of managers, and one of the criticisms of managers is they don't know their best team. They're always chopping and changing. I think up front is probably the place where you can chop and change as a manager, trying to get a result, and it might come off sometimes if a player just has a good game. As a player, or as a manager as well, it's difficult to keep that many strikers happy. Every player obviously wants to play, so when you've got a lot of strikers, I think Howard Foreign was there at the time, but he was injured as well. And Jason Lee was another striker. So there was a good few of us all wanting to play. And when you did get your chance, you had to play well and score. And sometimes when you got a lot of strikers in and out and they're not playing well and they're not getting a consistent run of games, sometimes that can happen. They lose a little bit of confidence in front of goal.
In terms of your departure, you obviously left by mutual consent, which is a phrase in football that everybody really knows, that it just means we want you to leave.
Goodbye.
At that point in your Posh career, were you quite relieved, happy? Did you want another challenge, or were you a little bit not concerned? But obviously, you'd had a couple of years whereby you probably felt like you were, bedding down a little bit.
Yeah, like I say, so the first year I was there, I'd signed a 1-year contract and was doing well up until around October, November. Then I signed another 2 years, and it was at the start of the second year that Baz just called me and said, "Look, you're not going to play much this year. do you want to leave? And at the time, if I wasn't going to play, like I said before, I needed games. I needed to be out playing. I didn't want to be sitting around on benches anymore. So we come to an agreement, and I left. So yeah, I was sad. I was sad in a way that it didn't work out for me there. But I needed to play. I needed matches, and I needed to go and play football. And that was a decision we made in the end.
At what point in your career did you start thinking about coaching and managing? Was it because some people take their badges very early, some get into it very late, some feel it has to be the natural progression. If you're a player, you go into, want to stay in football. How was it for you?
Yeah, I think you see some people, you can tell that that's what they want to do. They take a real interest in the coaching side of it, and from an early age. For me, it wasn't like that. I mean, when you're doing shape as a striker, most of the time you're standing around up front watching. So for me, I wasn't really into the coaching side of it. I didn't really take much interest in it, to be honest. And it was only quite late on that when you're thinking, what am I going to do when I finish here? So I just started taking them out of a little bit of, just as a little backup, just in case I did move into that side of it. And I really enjoyed it. I got, I'd done my first, I think it was the B license at the time, so I did that. And then, obviously the natural progression is, once you do that, is to do the A, and then the pro license. So yeah, it was quite late. It wasn't something that I'd planned on doing from a younger age, but as I got older, you become a little bit. You probably start looking at managers and you start thinking, I can do a better job than him. And every player thinks they can do a better job than the manager. So that was kind of in my mindset as I got older. I could do a better job here. I think I know enough about football. I've been around football enough to, why can't I be doing that type of thing? So that's where I went in the end. I decided that, yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
Is opportunity harder in management than potentially it is as a player? Because I guess as a player, your skills are there. Everyone can see what you can do. As an up-and-coming coach, I guess it's very hard for clubs to trust, inexperience. How can you get a foot in the door?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, to decide one day you want to be a manager, and then what do you do? Someone has to employ you. So for me, I did a couple of assistant manager roles. I was running a soccer academy, so that was how I was getting it. I was doing coaching anyway. And then I've got a couple of assistant manager roles, one over here in Ireland for a very short spell, which I didn't really enjoy, to be honest. It was okay, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do at the time. That was in 2015. And then 2017, a friend of mine, Omer Rizza, ex-Cambridge player. So
yeah, I was going to call him, to be fair, but I let it go.
He took over at Leyton Orient for a spell at the end of the season 3 years ago, and asked me to come and help him out for a while. So I did, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. So then when I came back to Ireland at the end of that season, I looked online to see if there's any jobs over here, any managers' jobs over here, and there was a club called Longford Town that had advertised for a manager. So I applied for that and did a couple of interviews and got the job. So really a sort of a quite a smooth way in. It wasn't too difficult for me to find a job at the time, but obviously I know it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's weird because obviously we've had quite a number of players come over from the League of Ireland to play at the football club. Some have worked out, some haven't. Some get homesick, some want to go back. Are you surprised? Because the standard over there is actually very good. Preston are probably an example of a club that take quite a lot of Irish players and have actually been successful with them. Why do you think there aren't so many and some don't work out?
I think probably, you can say the same about English players that come to Ireland. Some do well, some don't. It's just the way it is. It's a good league over here. It's a good standard. There is good players over here. The facilities are nowhere near as good as England. That's what lets it down a little bit. But the actual standard of the league and the standard of the coaches and the managers and the professionalism is as good as League 2, League 1 in England, to say. But it's so hard to compare because it's totally different. The facilities are nowhere near as good as what they are in England, and it's a smaller country. It's a smaller pot of players to work with. So totally different. But going back to your question, it's never easy to work out why the players work out in one, or never easy to say why the players work out well in some places and some don't. When I was at Peterborough, there was a few Irish lads there, Dan Connor, Tony Shields, Killian Brennan, and Killian Brennan didn't get a game for Peterborough, couldn't get near the team, and came back to Ireland and had a fantastic career over here. So it's difficult. It's difficult to work out, and you can't put your finger on it.
I remember Tony Shields. He was a proper tenacious midfielder. Yeah. Again, not the biggest, but he put himself about so much.
Yeah, little warrior in midfield. Yeah.
And Dan Connor. All I remember about Dan Connor was his rubbish haircut.
Yeah, Dan Connor's. I mean, he's the one who got me first over to Ireland. When I'd left Peterborough, I was kicking my heels a little bit, not knowing what to do. Had a couple of trials at Dagenham and Stevenage, and didn't really work out. And Dan Connor was now playing back in Ireland and phoned me and said, "Do you want to come over here, see how you get on?" So I did, and really enjoyed it. That was in 2003, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, and Dave Farrell, of course, is now doing coaching at Swindon and was part of the, obviously, academy coaching at the football club. He obviously a player that he played with for many a time. I think he was described as a librarian by Jimmy Bullard in that infamous thing we did. He was, I don't really, that's probably the best way of summing him up, isn't it?
Yeah, he was, he was a great lad, a Brummie, so he was a little bit, dour, shall we say, and not no fun at all, but he was sort of very cutting and didn't need to say anything to put you down. He only needed a few lines to put you down, and I really liked him, and he was a great player for us at the time. And
good friends, of course, with Mark Tyler, who's on our coaching staff at the moment.
Yeah, Tyles was a fantastic keeper, wasn't he? He was another quiet lad. Didn't really get involved in any of the shenanigans or anything else. But a really good player, and how many appearances he make in the end for Peterborough? It must be.
He's second in the all-time appearance record.
Yeah, unbelievable, really.
I spoke to Adam Newton about this and a few others. Whether they ever went out on a night out with Jimmy Bullard to survive the tale. I remember a number of stories around the time trying to keep them quiet and keep them out of the papers. But did you ever delve into a night with Jimmy? Apparently, the rumour is he was actually a poor drinker.
Yeah. Well, he was only a little lad, only a skinny little lad, so he couldn't really handle it. So it wouldn't take him too many drinks to get him going. But no, there was a few. We used to go out quite. I didn't live in Peterborough at the time, but we used to go out and socialise a good bit. And you had to calm him down a little bit sometimes, but we managed to do that. It was good. There was good times there.
He came back to do some recording with Soccer AM last year, and wanted to know if all the same places were still there. I said, it's been a while since you were out in Peterborough, mate. You can have a look if you want. He had 3 drinks and he was struggling.
Yeah. He's not like you say. He couldn't really hold it. Couldn't really handle it.
Just finally, obviously, you're managing at the moment at Cork City, I think, aren't you? In Ireland? Yeah. What's the dream in terms of your? Well, it's a cliche question of where you see yourself in 10 years' time. But do you want to have a crack in England, or are you quite comfortable in Ireland doing your stuff there?
You should. I mean, I've made the mistake before of saying something and doing the opposite. But I would. I don't. My dream is not to work back in England. No, I think that I would like to take Cork City now back to where. I mean, this club won the double in 2017 or 2017. So I want to try and bring this club back to. We've had a little bit of a lean year last year, so I want to try and take this club back up to where we belong. But after that, no, I'm not. I'd like to maybe manage abroad somewhere more than back in England. I'd like to see where that would take me abroad. I always wanted to play abroad as a player. Can't really count Ireland as playing abroad, so I won't. So I always wanted to play abroad as a player. It didn't work out for me, so I would like to work abroad as a manager would be what I'd really like to do.
MLS appeal?
MLS would appeal a lot to me, yeah. MLS would be somewhere. I mean, the summer always makes me think that I'd like to live somewhere hot. So maybe somewhere in the sun, coaching in the sun one day would be a nice job.